guys, back again with another video. This is my episode 5 of WWE Off the Mic. Got loads of things to talk about in this episode. Obviously tonight's Raw is going to be the last one before Fastlane, which, well, I'm looking forward to, in the sense that obviously I just want to see who comes out on top in their championship matches or just the matches in general, because obviously whoever wins tonight is likely going to go into, not tonight, on Sunday. Whoever wins on Sunday is probably going to be, whether they've retained a title heading into WrestleMania as a champion or something like that. So it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be a great pay-per-view with the matches that have been announced so far. Like Del Rio, Kalisto. It'll be an okay match, but it's been done, a lot already. So in terms of that being a great match, I don't think so. Obviously, I think the triple threat will be great because there's so much at stake, and I just think Lesnar's going to go in there and destroy Reigns and Ambrose until the end. I'd put Lesnar as the third favorite actually. Just because I think it has more sense in Ambrose or Reigns, especially Reigns obviously winning the match. So, but back to today's episode, I have news on John Cena, Randy Orton, The Rock, and Ronda Rousey, and Rey Mysterio. So the first thing I wanted to get to was John Cena. Obviously, I've said this before, but whether you're a John Cena or fan or not, you can't help but admit that the guy is great at what he does in a lot of ways. And again, whether you're a fan or not, Kevin Owens versus Undertaker at WrestleMania, as an example, right? Kevin Owens versus The Undertaker would be an amazing match, and in terms of wrestling, Owens could be one of the best opponents The Undertaker could face. But even though he's a better wrestler than John Cena, does it mean it's going to be a better match? No, because John Cena versus The Undertaker has not been done in a long time. Never been done at WrestleMania. It's the biggest superstar ever at WrestleMania and one of the top 5 of all time versus the top guy for the last 10 years and arguably the guy who's done the most for the company ever, or at least one of those guys. So and it's John Cena will be at some point before he retires he'll surpass Ric Flair's record for the most WWE World Heavyweight Championships, championship titles. So he's going to be the most. He's going to have the most championships to his name. He's just going to have such a well list of achievements basically. His to be number one in terms of championships. He's had a lot of US titles. He's had tag team titles. He's going to be the most decorated superstar probably of all time when he's done. So in terms of that, and versus The Undertaker, it'll be the best match of the show, and it'll be the best match possible for The Undertaker because it's John Cena, and not just because of the wrestling, because obviously he's got a lot better at that, but it's everything. John Cena as the personality he is, John Cena the name, everything. There's no one in the company that could, not a Brock Lesnar when that happened, not a Triple H, even maybe a Shawn Michaels. I think John Cena Undertaker could be the biggest match, or one of the top 3 of all time at WrestleMania, because it's the two of the biggest guys over a long period. So the bit I wanted to get to was that John Cena has dropped a hint himself that he's going to be wrestling, or at least be at the show. And there's just been hints, everywhere really. It's pretty much guaranteed. It's not guaranteed, but I'd be majorly shocked if John Cena wasn't at WrestleMania to face The Undertaker. I think it's happening. I think it's happening whether Cena's 100%, 75%, 50%, even 30%. He won't miss WrestleMania. He won't miss a match with The Undertaker. And I just flat out don't think The Undertaker wants to face anyone else. I think in Dallas, his hometown, at the biggest WrestleMania ever, he has his mind set on facing John Cena as well, and that's it. So I think if anyone's not excited by this matchup, honestly, you're not going to be excited by WrestleMania. Because, obviously it's going to be the biggest one ever. It's not going to be the best show ever, I can guarantee that. But that is going to be one of the best and biggest matches of all time, just because of how rarely they've ever gone against each other as well. That's something that WWE has kept. Obviously they haven't in years gone by not done a match with the two just to save it for a WrestleMania moment. But when it back in the day when it was Raw versus SmackDown, and it was two complete separate shows for like separate rosters basically. You always had Undertaker on SmackDown, always had Cena on Raw, and you had the two big championships involved, World Heavyweight and WWE. So there was either one of them was basically going for either championship at a different time. So yeah, I can't wait for that match because I think it's happening. So yeah, the next thing I wanted to get to is there's rumours on Rey Mysterio potentially returning to the WWE, which would, well, there's been a few rumours in the last few months of a lot of obviously guys coming back, or well, going or coming back to the WWE, but two guys that I'd love to see would be Rey Mysterio and Johnny Nitro, well, or aka John Morrison. Those two I would love back in the WWE because when I started watching it in 2008, 2009, they were there. John Morrison in a tag team with The Miz, just his in-ring ability is amazing. And Rey Mysterio is just a hero. So I would love both guys to be back. But the big news is that Rey Mysterio could potentially come back, which I think Mysterio should end his career in the WWE because that's where he spent a lot of it. So hopefully that happens. Randy Orton, if there's one guy I've missed a lot in WWE for years or just recently, it's him because he's my my joint favourite wrestler. I just love everything about his character, whether he's a face, a bad guy, his in-ring ability, on the mic. He's just an all-round superstar. He's just, he's good at everything. He always has the crowd support. He always gets heat if he's a heel. He always plays the character right. He always does everything that you could ask of a top guy. And I think he'll go down as one of the best. Just because he's been able to do everything so well, play so many different types of characters, and his injury is going really well, which is good news. It just sucks that they've got this amount of injuries. Orton, Cena, Rollins, Seth Rollins is a big one. Obviously with Daniel Bryan retiring, I would say that along with Styles, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins is best in-ring guy in WWE. He's going to be a world champion for the next few years. He's going to win a lot of titles. And again, heel or face, I think he'll pull both of them off exceptionally well. But yeah, Randy Orton's injury is going well. He should be back. Obviously, not. I wouldn't say. I'd say within a few months after WrestleMania. But if it keeps going the way it is, it could be quite soon after WrestleMania. So that would be amazing. And the other thing I wanted to touch on was The Rock and Ronda Rousey, which WWE have a lot of. There's a lot of different type of rumors going around. There's a lot of different scenarios being talked about. There's the Shawn Michaels thing with Vince wanting Shawn to be the special guest referee. There's potentially having a Stephanie versus Ronda Rousey match at WrestleMania. Having The Rock as the special guest referee. There's The Rock and Ronda Rousey being in Reigns' corner for the Triple H Reigns match and then Stephanie and Vince in H's corner. So there's a lot of different scenarios being talked about, a lot of different ways they could go. I think The Rock will be involved. Obviously, he'll be involved in WrestleMania in some capacity, but I think he'll be in the main event with Reigns, and I think WWE wants Ronda Rousey at this year's WrestleMania as well, and especially with how they've built The Rock and Triple H, at the last WrestleMania, how there's. Then again, I wouldn't be surprised. WWE has built up rivalries in the past, even if it's a long gap, a long gap between a rivalry, and then just squashed it and just not cared about, keeping it going. But I think The Rock and Triple H are destined to have a match, probably at next year's WrestleMania. I would say they would have a match next year. Triple H versus The Rock, everyone wants to see that at WrestleMania. I think it could be like a last match type thing for both, but especially Triple H. I think that'd be a great way for both, to potentially have their last match. And obviously, I just think WWE is gonna somehow have a Shawn Michaels there, The Rock, Ronda Rousey, and probably in the main event. One thing I did want to read out is obviously the news about it. So it says there continues to be talk within WWE of involving The Rock or Ronda Rousey in the planned Triple H vs Roman Reigns title match main event at WrestleMania 32. The Rock is confirmed to be appearing at Mania, but as of now it's unknown whether or not Ronda Rousey's schedule will permit her to appear. I don't think that would be too big a deal. Ideas being discussed right now include having Vince McMahon and The Rock involved in the match, or possibly Stephanie McMahon and Ronda Rousey. There's also been talk of maybe having The Rock act as the special guest referee for the match. So basically a bit like what I said. I think obviously with how they were building Rousey and Stephanie and The Rock and Triple H at last year's WrestleMania, I think obviously on such a huge stage where Reigns will win the title back from Triple H in all likeliness at WrestleMania, obviously I don't think they would go as far as to have The Rock in the main event of WrestleMania actually screw over Triple H, but I think it could be like a thing where Reigns is getting, there's more people, like obviously with Vince McMahon and Stephanie at ringside, and maybe Shawn Michaels as the referee. With Shawn Michaels trying to avoid Reigns being Triple H, you could have The Rock kind of make a save type situation. Because I don't actually see him, losing the match for Triple H. I wouldn't think they would make it that big of a statement. I think the best way, in my opinion, at least to go is I would have Stephanie versus Ronda Rousey in a separate wrestling match altogether, and it still builds towards that. If they even wanted to go with like a mixed tag team at next year's WrestleMania, like The Rock and Rousey versus H and Stephanie. Obviously, I don't think that would be likely, but you never know. I think they could either do a separate match with Stephanie and Ronda Rousey, and then just have Vince in H's corner and The Rock in Reigns' corner. And I don't think there would be anything better for a lot of WWE fans than to see Vince McMahon get rock bottomed at WrestleMania 32. I would book that. I think that's kind of an understatement. I would book that to happen, but like the viciousness in me would, when it comes to wrestling like this, would be to not only plan The Rock to rock bottom Vince McMahon, but I'd have him do it through the table as well, through the announcer's table. Have Vince literally eat the table, rock bottom, and then Reigns go on to beat H. That would be a way I would do it maybe. Because then again, I don't want the main event being just surrounded by loads of people at ringside, because then it would just overshadow the match way too much. So we'll see how they go, but I think some of those guys are going to be involved in some capacity in the main event, or at least definitely WrestleMania. I think Ronda Rousey will be there. I'm not sure on Shawn Michaels. I think that's the least likely. The Rock is obviously guaranteed. Vince McMahon and Stephanie will be in Triple H's corner. That's a definite. So yeah, we'll see how everything goes. That was my WWE Off the Mic episode 5. Obviously tomorrow I'll have my Monday Night Raw review, talk about things being set up for Fastlane, and I just hope WWE can put off a good show tomorrow. Their shows in 2016 so far have been lacking, to say the least. So hopefully that that works out. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you soon. Bye.